We've done over 6,242 discovery calls in the past 2 years, and I want to share with you 3 disturbing patterns I've noticed about what health entrepreneurs who struggle have in common and how not to be one of them. Hey guys, what's up? Uriel Kame here, CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. I'm excited to share this with you because I was diving into some of our data, and man, it was some troubling stuff I noticed. Because as I just mentioned, we've had more than 6,242 discovery calls with potential clients, like clients who said, or prospects who said,
I'm interested in what you guys are doing. Let's talk about it, seeing if this makes sense.
And I'll be honest with you, the vast majority of them are not working with us, right? That's just, it's kind of the way it is, right? In general, more people will say no than yes, and nor do you want to invite everyone. And anyways, so I want to share 3 patterns that we've noticed. And this is actually probably some of the most eye-opening data that I've seen that I think can really support you. And I share this with you because I want you to succeed in business. I want you to succeed in what it is you're doing. However, if you're not where you currently are, there might be some things that are holding you back. And I want to shine some light on 3 patterns that we've noticed that you might find some similarity in with how you show up in the world. And again, I'm not blaming you or pointing fingers. I'm just saying there might be some interesting similarities. And if you can be aware of them, then you can possibly improve upon them if you want better results. Well, so number 1 is a lack of decisiveness. This is probably the biggest thing I've noticed, is those who struggle tend to abdicate the decision-making process to someone else. Higher power, to spirit, to my attorney, to my business mentor, to my spouse, to whoever, anyone other than themselves. They are removing themselves from the decision-making process because making a decision can be hard. And it's really a muscle more than anything, right? It's just a matter of just learning how to make decisions and sticking to them. I mean, I train my son Oscar has a tendency to make a decision and then very quickly change his mind. I'm like, dude, make the decision and stick with the first decision, right? If you remember back to those multiple choice tests we used to do in high school or university, I'm sure you've had this where you chose C and then you're like, no, I'm gonna scratch that out. It's B. And then you're like, shit, it was C. And here's the thing, is that usually when you start to doubt yourself, it's never a good thing. And for me, lack of decisiveness shows up very clearly in how people drive. I think the most dangerous drivers on the road are those who are not decisive. They're the ones who get to a stop sign and they don't understand the right of way. And so they kind of edge into the intersection and then they stop and then you're like, what's happening here? Or they're the people that merge onto the highway well below the speed limit and they're barely even merging into traffic and you're like, what the hell's happening? What's happening here? So lack of decisiveness isn't just dangerous from a driving perspective. I think it's dangerous from your business perspective. We had a lady who's a naturopathic doctor actually spoke with me 4.5 years ago about working with us on HBA. And at the time she was doing whatever she was doing revenue-wise, she wanted to add $100,000 per year to her business online. And we're like, great, awesome. And then she said,
well, you know what? I'm going to kind of do a little bit on my own. I'll reach back out to you guys when I'm ready, right?
Okay. 4.5 years later, she booked another call with us. So I was like, this name looks familiar. And so she had a call with one of our team members. Lo and behold, exactly the same situation she's in. Sorry, she wanted to be making $150,000 additional to what she was making, which was at the time maybe $70,000 or $80,000. Same situation. So get to the end of the conversation and she's like,
you know what? I'm kind of just do some stuff for the summer on my own. I'll reach back out to you guys.
And I'm like, this is not the sign of someone who's going to do well in business. And guess what? She was exactly where she was 4.5 years ago. So if you think about this, she wanted to be adding $150,000 per year to her business, 4 years in a row. That's $600,000 in lost revenue because of a lack of decisiveness. When you don't decide, you're deciding. I think the most important thing for me to share with you is that it's okay to say no. It's okay to say no. Just say no or say yes. But I'll tell you, it's very dangerous to say I need to think about it. It's a very dangerous sentence to say, and I understand that we all have our own decision-making process, but the reality is that I need to think about it got us into our situation in the first place. And that lack of being able to make a decision is it robs more dreams than I think anything else. I want to share with you what I've noticed among some of our most successful clients and just successful people in general is number 1 is they take full ownership of the decision-making process. So there's 2 things. Number 1, they trust their gut. When they know something makes sense to them, they intuitively know it and they trust themselves enough to pursue that. Even though they don't have all the certainty, no one in the world knows how everything's gonna work out, but they believe in themselves enough to be like, you know what, this feels right in a lot of cases, and they move forward. The second piece of that is a lot of times it makes logical sense to them. If it makes logical sense to you and your gut's telling you this is a hell yes, then why would you not move forward? And the reason we don't move forward is because of fear. But fear will kill you. Fear will paralyze you. Fear will rob the future you say you want right out of your hands. The only way to overcome fear is by using courage, which is a muscle that you can flex on a daily basis by doing something that makes you feel a little bit uncomfortable. And embarking upon something new, whether it's investing in a coaching program or doing something you've not done before, is going to be uncomfortable. That's the nature of growth. You don't stay in your comfort zone. You don't get bigger muscles by lifting 5 pounds for the rest of your life. So you either move in that direction or you basically say, this is not that important to me, because I can't stand listening to people talk about how they want this thing and they've been saying the same thing over and over again and they're not doing anything to move towards this attainment. So I share this with you almost out of frustration of how many people we have seen say that, no, this is exactly what I'm looking for, like working with us as an example. I just need to run it by spirit. I just need to meditate on this. I'm not the type of person who decides things on the spot. I need 7 days. 7, not 5, 7 days. These are all bullshit excuses that hold people back. These are stories that hold them back from the future they say they want. And it's very, very sad to see people crumple up like a flower that hasn't been watered or nourished with sun or good soil into a shadow of who they're capable of becoming. And sadly, that's most people on this planet. Do you want to be one of them? I certainly hope not. So decisiveness is a very, very important trait, skill, character trait, whatever you want to call it, that we have noticed to be a very big determinant of someone's success in business. The final thing I'll mention in this is that successful people commit and figure out the rest later. Everything that's been good in my life, I've committed to first and I've made it happen. When I hired my first coach for $18,000, which by the way was more money than I made the previous year in business back in 2010, I didn't have the money. I had 2 credit cards. I threw it on 2 credit cards and I was like, you know what? Now that I'm in and I feel this massive amount of anxiety, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make this work. And I did. But had I sat back on the sidelines and I was waiting for all the cash to be collected in a briefcase to then give to the coach, never would have happened. So successful people commit first and figure out the rest later, especially if they know it's the right thing for them to do, especially if it makes logical sense, and especially if they're afraid. It's okay to be afraid. We're all supposed to be afraid. It's always going to be a level up from what you're normally, what you're used to. And that's part of the process. It shouldn't feel super comfortable. Like, yes, it should feel like it's a good decision, but if you feel kind of anxious around it, that's totally fine. It's totally normal because you're embarking upon something new that you haven't yet done before. Make sense? Okay. So the second pattern of struggling health entrepreneurs is a very poor relationship with money. And I use poor in both contexts. So there are many people who, whether they follow Susie Orman, David Bach, Dave Ramsey, who don't believe in debt. They don't believe that they should have any debt and they save all their money and they don't get the latte at Starbucks because they want to save $5 a day and they compromise today for the future. And these are very interesting people to talk with when they are business owners, because in business, I don't know if you've noticed this, most businesses don't use cash to start the business. Airlines, you're gonna buy a 747 cash? No way. You use leverage, use credit, use other people's money, investors at the highest level with those companies. But in our case, in the case of building a coaching business, the relationship with money is so interesting. And again, it's another thing that holds a lot of people back because they think they need the money to get started, to get the coaching and system and strategy to help them make the money. And that's like saying, I'm going to go see a trainer. I mean, when I was a trainer, this is actually what happened many times. And I'm sure maybe it's happened to you too, is I would have a consult with a potential client. Person's like,
this sounds awesome. I'm just gonna go get in shape first and then I'll hire you.
And I'm like, good luck with that, because it never happens, right? Not surprising. Like, you are where you are in business because of what you've done up until now. And if you keep doing that, you're gonna keep getting the results you keep getting, unless you do something different. And so when it comes to this poor relationship with money, it's this idea that we don't want to invest in ourselves. We don't have the money to do stuff. But here's the thing that drives me kind of around the wall with health professionals is if you look at what health professionals in general spend on a college degree, it's in the neighborhood of 6 figures, depending on the profession, right? And then they come out with no business or marketing acumen, just a friggin' degree like those ones on the wall. And it's like, all the best. Don't forget to donate as an alumni back to the school. And you're like, okay. So anyways, you get out and you have no business acumen, you have no marketing skills, you have no way to build this business. And some practitioners get lucky because people fall into their lap in their clinic. But when you come online, no one knows who you are. And if you don't know how to proactively put yourself out there, you're screwed. And I'm not talking about dancing videos on TikTok. Okay, that's ridiculous. Okay, Okay, let's just be honest. I'm talking about learning the fundamental skills of communication, of messaging, of positioning, of how to create something remarkable for clients. We've noticed people struggle in business. It's because they're treating their business as if they can build it for free. But if you were to run a clinic, are you paying for a lease? Are you paying for overhead like equipment and staff? Probably. Why should your online coaching business be any different? Or like, oh my God, I gotta pay a couple $100 a year for some tech platforms. Really? Again, small thinking. Okay, so this relationship with money is just, it's very pervasive, and it's a very big problem in the health and fitness space, which is one of my missions, is to empower health professionals to earn what they're worth, because you do amazing work, and you should never feel bad about the money you make, because you're transforming people's lives in the biggest way possible. Like, no one other than you, assuming you're amazing at what you do at helping people transform their health, does anything close to transforming someone's life in such a dramatic fashion. To give someone their health back, to give someone the body they feel proud of, to restore a relationship that was broken. Like, how do you put a price on that, right? And then we feel bad for charging, because for what, right? And so there's this whole martyrdom in the world of health of, I don't want to charge people and I want to make this accessible to everyone. And it doesn't help you. It does not help you. So anyways, going back to the relationship with money, is a lot of those who struggle, we've noticed, have that type of mentality where they don't want to charge a lot because they want to try to help everyone. They're happy to be a martyr in the service of others, even though they say they're burnt out. And then they're not willing to invest in their business because they consider it like a side hustle or a little hobby that they just want to make a few grand a month to pay the bills. And it's like, why are you even doing that? Just go work for someone else. By contrast, those who have been our most successful clients, and again, successful in not just working with us, but in other areas of life as well, is they understand the power of leverage and other people's money. And what I mean by that is, for instance, when you build a perfect client pipeline and you're able to attract leads, clients through paid traffic, you don't need a briefcase of cash. You just need a system, or really an asset, that is going to essentially become your golden goose. And successful people understand that they're willing to invest to build the golden goose, because then from the golden goose, they will get the golden eggs. And the golden eggs will pay for everything they want in life. But if you never take the time to develop the asset and you're only making money and living off that working income, you're screwed. So what I want you to think about is not necessarily like using your money from your bank account. It's taking out a credit card, bartering with Facebook and saying, hey, Facebook, I'm going to give you X number of dollars a day. In return, I'm going to get this number of impressions. And when I say Facebook, Instagram and Facebook are the same, just in case you're wondering. Okay, it's both platforms are under Meta. So if you're like, my people aren't on Facebook, they're on Facebook. And if they're not on Facebook, they're on Instagram. And at the check of a box, you can be running to both. So don't worry about that. But nonetheless, you're saying, I'll give you X number of dollars a day. Facebook's like, cool, we'll show it to this many people. You're like, awesome. And then you look at what comes in. And if you're spending $1 and making 5 in return, like most of our clients do, well, why would you not do that, right? Why would you not take time to build the asset, the system, the perfect client pipeline in our case, that you can put $1 in and on average make 543% return on that dollar? Right? The only thinking is like, well, what if it doesn't work out? And that leads me to my third point, which I'll get to in a second, but I'll finish with this, is that successful people understand that money is cheap and time is expensive. You can always make back your money, you can never make back your time. So if you feel like grinding away and taking all of your time posting content online is the best way for you to do things, that's fine. But if you want faster results, bigger results with a lot less of the sweat equity involved, very much like a savvy investor, you'll look at how you can make working income that can then build assets, and those assets pay for everything you need into perpetuity. And that's what our most successful clients do. That's what we help them do. So let me get back to the final thing here, is the third pattern that we've noticed with respect to struggling health entrepreneurs is a severe lack of self-belief. And I say severe without sugarcoating that. Here's what I mean by that. When you have the best strategy, which we do. Now you might say, okay, you're full of shit. That's fine, right? Like, you have your opinion, I have mine. I have my data. And I've been online since 2005. So unless you have a better method, please let me know. So when we say we have the best strategy, and we've helped thousands of health professionals generate more than $217 million in their businesses, and that for every dollar invested, our clients on average make 543% return on their ad spend. Why would you not do that? Well, there's two things. Number one, you don't believe in the system or the strategy. You think it's a scam. That's totally fine. You may have had a bad experience in the past. You may have had a bad relationship in the past. Does that mean that every other man or woman in the rest of the world is a scam artist? No, okay? So it's just a belief. So number one is you may not trust the strategy. The second, the bigger thing that I've noticed is the lack of trust in self. So I was having a conversation with someone earlier in the summer, and she was mentioning that she had really fixed her money mindset like 8 years ago. And I was like, that's great, right? Like it's awesome to do the work, great. And then we got into talking about her business. She was a coach, and she was saying that she was making $12,000 per year, and that she's made that revenue for the past 8 years. And I'm thinking to myself, really, you've really worked on your money mindset. I don't think you've dealt with your money issues. Anyways, that's what I'm thinking. And then it got to the moments where I said, here's our thing, and I think we can support you. And she's like, yeah, this is definitely what I'm looking for. And then obviously, came time to making a decision, which came back to lack of decisiveness. And she's like, you know what, I don't feel right about this. I don't like whatever. And I said, listen, I can't want this more than you want it for yourself, right? So I'm not here to push you into anything, and don't take my passion for helping you with pressure, because that's not what this is about. It's about, I've been in your shoes, and this is a very real story. She was not making a lot of money, and she was $10,000 or $15,000 in debt, and she didn't move forward. And I get that. I was in her shoes when I started. When I hired my first coach in 2010, I was making about the same money as she was, right? $12,000 a year-ish, but I had $55,000 in debt. So I could have said, well, sorry, can't do it. And I very, lovingly told her, I said, listen, I've been in your shoes, and in fact, worse. But the difference is that I knew this was what I needed to do. And even though I was scared shitless, I did it anyways. And her response was the following. She said, it's not as binary as that. And my response to her was, yes, it is. The difference between the two of us was that I was in a worse financial situation than she was, based on debt, etc. But I moved forward with something that at the time I knew I needed to do. She was in a position where she had an opportunity to move ahead with something she had said, this is exactly what I need to do, but she didn't. And she didn't do it for one very specific reason. She did not believe that she could make it work. And when I enrolled with my coach back in 2010, with every fiber of my being, I knew, I don't know how, I didn't know how, but I knew I was gonna find a way to make it work. And that, my friend, is the difference between those who achieve everything they want in life and 80% of the rest of the population. And I don't know where this comes from. I don't know if obviously upbringing, conditioning, whatever. But if you don't believe in yourself, no strategy, tactic, or coach is ever going to fix that. When I see people come in, they're like, yeah, like I've done all these coaching programs and none of them have worked. I'm like, stay away from me. Honestly, because it's less about the coaching program and it's more about the person at that point. If someone has repeatedly failed over and over and over again, do you think that maybe it's something to do with them? Because I promise you those other strategies and coaching programs and courses and classes and whatever worked for other people. If you think about school, you went to school, there were 100 people in the class. Did everyone get the same grade? No. Same material, same teacher, same curriculum, everything. Different grades. What's the unique variable? Each individual person. If you do not believe in yourself, no one else will. And you can certainly borrow someone else's belief temporarily, but if you don't believe in yourself enough to take a chance on yourself, there's not much else anyone can do for you. And I'm sorry to say this. I mean, this might come across as really brash, but I'm not here to sugarcoat the situation. I'm not here to make you feel it's all good. No, it's not. You have to find a way to believe in yourself. And if that's borrowing someone else's courage and belief temporarily, that's fine. But until you have enough belief in yourself to move forward, you're never going to move forward. So then you ask yourself, okay, well, what's the worst case scenario here? If I did this, what's the worst thing that could happen? And just work through that scenario, because I promise you, most people are not even asking that question when they invest $300,000 to go to school. They're like, this is just the story. I guess I got to keep playing. I'm going to invest $300,000 to leave with nothing other than some technical skills, and I'll be in debt for the next 20 years. That is absolutely insane to live in a culture where that's okay. And then we get into the opportunity where we can build and invest in ourselves in terms of skills in our business, and everything is a scam, or this is never going to work. But we don't even question the very educational system that puts us in this bind in the first place. It is absolutely fuck backwards, right? And so I want you to understand that these three patterns, it doesn't matter about the tactics, the strategies, all that stuff is irrelevant. Because if you lack decisiveness, if you have a very skewed and poor relationship with money, and you don't believe in yourself, there's not much that we or anyone else can do. And I'll finish with one last story. So one of our clients, Kevin, was a health coach, came to me February 2020, so just before the pandemic hit, and he was making $800 a month. And I told him, I'm like, dude, I think you're a bit early. You haven't really worked with any clients. You know, it's just kind of a concept. And I told him, I'm like, you should probably get some reps under your belt first. And he said, no, watch me. And I was like, okay, because I don't often hear that from people. 18 months later, he goes from making less than $1,000 per month to building more than $1 million in his business. What is it about Kevin that allowed him to do that? Is it a different strategy? Is it different coaching? Is it different? Nothing is different. Same program, same coaching, same material. Everything. What's different is him. And that's the biggest thing I want you to understand about this, is that if you are not willing to invest in yourself, you can never get better. And if you can't invest in yourself, don't expect your business to grow, because your business is only ever a reflection of you. And the more you grow, the more your business will. And if your business is stuck at a plateau and it's been there for a while, then you don't look at the tactics and strategies. You look at inside. What do I have to learn? What skills do I have to develop? How do I have to step out of my comfort zone? Am I being indecisive? Am I lacking courage? Do I lack belief in myself? What is my relationship with money? You have to look at all of this stuff, because the number one trait amongst successful leaders is a high degree of self-awareness. And I think there's a lot of people out there that think kind of delusional that they're a lot better off than they are. And when they're faced with the reality of their situation, they don't like what they see, and then we kind of push it down, because otherwise we wouldn't sleep well at night. But you know what? Sometimes it's okay to be uncomfortable with your situation, because if you're not uncomfortable with your situation, it's very rare that you're going to want to change or improve it. So initially we can use that pain or that discomfort to change, and then from that change we can ride the momentum of impact and want it to create more from a positive perspective than trying to escape a reality that we don't like. So anyways, I have lots to say about this, but hopefully this gives you a bit of a breakdown and some insights into, after having spoken with 6,242 different health professionals and coaches, 3 emerging patterns we have seen: lack of decisiveness, a poor relationship with money, and lack of self-belief. And those who struggle without our help, coming into potentially working with us, those are the 3 big patterns that we've noticed. And again, if you want to succeed, just do the opposite. Become more decisive. Consider retweaking your money mindset. This is something that we help our clients with quite a bit, because this shows up in many areas of life as we go through this journey. But if you have a poor relationship with money, that can be improved. That can be tweaked. Your inputs, how you're trained, how you see the world, all of that can be improved. And the final piece is self-belief. To believe in yourself, here's the simplest way of doing things. I want you to think back to 3 moments in your life when you've been successful. I want you to do that right now, okay? So maybe that was graduating school, maybe it was giving birth to kids, maybe it was whatever, something notable that for you was successful. And I want you to think about that for a second. And my next question to you is, was that a different person than who you are? Or was that the same person? Because it's the same person, right? What I'm trying to get across here is that if you've succeeded in some aspect of your life, you can transfer that to any other aspect of your life, because how you do anything is how you do everything. And what I've noticed working with thousands of entrepreneurs and people in general is that when they lack self-belief, they're just using the wrong reference points from the past. They're focusing on all the moments in time that didn't work out. And naturally what you focus on expands. So if you focus on the failures, and even though they're not failures, they're just learnings, right? But if you give them meaning as failures and you focus on that, then naturally your self-esteem and belief in yourself is going to be a lot lower, versus someone who goes through a similar experience, gives different meaning and more empowering meaning to maybe some of those shortcomings, and says, you know what, here's what I learned. It's all good. I'm going to get better for next time. Or I'm going to focus on all these wins from the past. And if I could do it back then, or last year, or last week, or last month, or whenever, I can do it again, because I'm the same person. Actually, I'm better because I'm older, I'm wiser, I've grown, and I have more perspective now. And that's how you can start to rapidly build more belief in yourself. And then as you move forward, as you take action, as you flex that courage muscle, it reinforces that character you are building. And as you become a stronger, better version of yourself, your business reflects that as well. Cool? So anyways, I hope this video has found you well. There you go. I mean, if you're watching this on the YouTubes, you know what to do. Hit subscribe. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much for your time, and I'll see you soon.